everyone and welcome to DS Podcast, and yes, we are back for another video and it's time for another film reaction, and it's my personal favourites. It's my time for my reaction of... Yes, recently at the cinema I went to watch the new film of the Jurassic World franchise, which is Jurassic World Rebirth. And yes, I'm a massive fan. These are my favourite films of all time. Jurassic Park is the best film to ever exist. And if you didn't know this about me already, I am a massive dinosaur fan. I love all things dinosaurs. Any dinosaur movie they can get out, I'm in for. And with this as well, I also have my own YouTube channel called David's Dinosaur Diaries right there. And if you want to learn a bit more about dinosaurs, or you're a fan of dinosaurs and want to learn a bit more, then head over to David's Dinosaur Diaries on YouTube just to see everything we do over there and hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on this channel, DS Podcast. One click for you means a whole lot for me. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the movie. So yeah, recently we went to see Fantastic Four in the cinema and I did a movie review on that. And if you haven't checked that out, head over to that video. It's in the bio or in the realms of YouTube. I don't know what to call it, but it's there. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic. But with this film, I wanted to talk about this for ages. And because that video went down well, I was like, do you know what? Let's do this for the public as well. And as I said, I love these movies. Jurassic Park is obviously the classic, beautiful movie, spotlessly perfect. You looked at Part 2 and Part 3. Yeah, they're not the level of Park, the original, but they sit nicely in the podium behind it. They're three very good films for the franchise. Leave them there. Jurassic World, I thought, was a good reboot. I think the idea of what they brought in, the blend of it, the Indominus was great as a new dinosaur that they created. And I thought they had a good idea to it. And then Fallen Kingdom came along, bit below par. And then we had Dominion, which it just went wrong, didn't it? I just think they went along the path of let's get nostalgia in, put them in as a team, and let's see how we blend all these characters and dinosaurs. And then we ended up with a dinosaur movie that focal point wasn't on dinosaurs. I don't know. So yeah, when they finished those trilogy of movies, I went, they've probably done as much as they can. They've ran out of ideas towards the end and how to move the franchise forward. Leave it there. Leave it there. And then they announced that Rebirth was coming. And at first I was like, no, we don't want another group of films already. I mean, if we're looking at 10 years down the line, then potentially you could think of other ideas to put in. But I was cautious, to say the least. Having said that, I did like the idea of the actual movie. You know, the premises of what they were going to do with the plot. And if you're sitting there going, no spoilers, this is basically what was said in the trailer. So unless you're going in blind and haven't seen a trailer or a basic plot line behind it, then we're not going to give you any spoilers of what happens in the movie. But if you're going in blind, maybe switch off now. But I like the idea of the island, which is the most dangerous ones were left there. The ones that could go to the parks and be portrayed to the public, they were fine. Off they went to Isla Nublar or whatever. Whereas the ones that were too dangerous, they were left here to fend for themselves and fight it out. And the island was just a dangerous place. And I like the idea of that because I went, right, are we going to get Jeopardy back? Are we going to get danger back? Are we going to get dinosaurs at their best? So I was invested in the idea and I thought, if they're going to bring the franchise back, this is a good way to do it. Because one thing I think that has made this franchise suffer a little bit more is I feel like they're tailoring it a bit more to all ages. Whereas I feel like the Park film was, the 3 Park films were, there was more jeopardy, there was more fear because they were playing to adults a bit more. Whereas I feel like now so many kids, because of the Camp Cretaceous and all these animated things that they're bringing in, it's bringing a lot more children into the market, which is great. And I'm all for it because I watched the Jurassic Park film when I was a kid. But I feel like they're watering them down a little bit more just because to keep that fear factor away from kids potentially watching it, which I don't like. But from what the idea was, I felt like we were going to get Jeopardy and Danger back with these dinosaurs. So yeah, we're going to get to a part in this podcast now, get this right, where we're going to start releasing spoilers, because I feel like this is a very hard film to analyse without spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything about this movie, swipe off now and come back. Yeah, go from the start of the movie, from start to finish. Now, obviously it starts with 17 years ago from the moment of Dominion. So we're going way, way back to when the sort of dinosaurs were being invented. And we see at the beginning, we see with the movie, we see obviously one of the scientists going in to the D-Rex paddock, which is where the D-Rex has been created. And we see, obviously, he's eating a Snickers bar. Now, I thought this scene was good. I thought it would involve danger. I thought it involved jeopardy. We saw a glimpse of the D-Rex where we went, this is danger. This is frightening. But can we just talk about the Snickers bar? You're telling me that this is how the park goes into AWOL. It's because someone's not putting their rubbish away. Now, I have to be honest here. I felt I lost a bit of investment in the film, because this isn't like a Dennis Nedry kind of guy who is a messy person at his workstation and isn't working with dinosaurs in close proximity to him. This is a guy that is going into a paddock that is linked to the most dangerous potential dinosaur to ever live, or creature, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And this is a guy who's highly qualified to get there. This is a guy who is highly intelligent. Are you telling me that he would throw a Snickers wrapper on the floor before going in to deal with a dangerous dinosaur? I just don't think it would happen. And it was very Final Destination vibes with it, where something so minimal creates havoc and mayhem. And then of course the Snickers wrapper gets sucked into the vent, and obviously it blocks up, the system goes into a lockdown, and everyone has to escape. The door's shut, and obviously you get the scientist that threw the wrapper on the floor, obviously in with the D-Rex, gets taken away and eaten. And from that moment, the scene was set and I was in. I sat there and went, yes, 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 yes. We've got our Jurassic Park world back. This is what we want. We want jeopardy with these dinosaurs. We want danger. We want unexpectancy. We don't want predictability. And I was in. I was in. And then obviously we go back to present day, which is 5 years on from Dominion, I think it is. Which puts us in 2027, but the timelines don't add up for that, in my opinion. But again, I'm not too invested as a movie fanatic to really care too much about those details. But we get into basically present day. And obviously we're living in a world where the dinosaurs now, the climate is too dangerous for them here, and it's killing them off. It's not the right climate. So all the remaining dinosaurs are in the equator, where the climate is more suited to what they were used to back when they were living. They live there, and now the equator and that area has become a no travel zone. So it's illegal for humans to go over there. They're not allowed because it's too dangerous and they don't want what's going on. But there are still a few dinosaurs roaming the areas that we live in, say now. So like New York, for example. And we see that in the scene with the Brontosaurus, obviously under the bridge. Now, my critic goes with this. And I don't like what Jurassic World have done with this. And they even did it in the first movie, where we've got to a place now where dinosaurs in that world have become boring. They've become anything like looking at the lion at the city zoo, like they say in the film, and no one's impressed anymore. And everyone's like, yeah, it's just a dinosaur. And I don't like that. I don't think we would ever, if this ever occurred in modern life, I don't think we'd ever get to a point where dinosaurs were boring. I don't think people would be bored. I think you'd get excitement still, no matter what. And there's even lines in previous films where, I think it was in Fallen Kingdom, where I can't remember which character said it exactly, but one of them says, oh, sorry, I couldn't afford my life savings to go and see a dinosaur. So you've got a world where a lot of these people have never seen a dinosaur even. So you're telling me that in 10 years or 15 years, whatever it is, since the first dinosaurs were unleashed to the public eye, in that period, we've gone from what to, it's just a dinosaur, couldn't really care. And the reason I say that doesn't make sense is that we're like with animals now. We get excited about animals now. You know, we see whales on TikTok and videos, but we still want to go and see a whale in real life. One of my goals in life is to go on safari to see animals in their natural habitat. Another one for me is to go to far ocean and see whales and dolphins and orcas in their natural habitat. And these are creatures that I've grown up with, knowing and living with and getting excited for. So you telling me that a world wouldn't make sense without boredom? It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And I know it didn't make sense in that last bit, but it just wouldn't happen. So they need to get rid of that because people wouldn't be bored. So of course, the next part of the movie is obviously they introduce us to the character of Martin Krebs. And obviously he's the guy bringing everyone together. He wants to, there's a new heart disease in the world, and there's a cure. There's a cure for it, but that can be made from 3 samples of 3 dinosaurs. And he goes, I need a team that's going to take me there. We can go back. We can get a lot of money for this, cure people, but get paid for it as well. In that sense, it was that played in that way. So he brings in Zara Bennett, who is obviously played by Scarlett Johansson. I liked her character. I liked that she played this sort of ex-military kind of woman character. I thought she was cool. I thought she was really cool with it. And I like the idea that she was sort of a bit like, I'm done with this life of doing jobs on the side and things like that. And he's gone, look, you're going to get paid well and then you'll never have to work again. And it's sort of like the heart-throbbing moment to get her to go and do it. And then obviously they go to Henry Loomis. And can we just have some appreciation for Henry Loomis? Now, not only is it played by the incredible Jonathan Bailey, but wasn't it great to have a character back in the Jurassic franchise that is just a bit of a nerd? He just played the character that everyone who is a dinosaur fan would be like. The way he was with, you know, the museum, the way he was with the dinosaurs in the movie. It was just, he was just having the best time of being around them. Obviously, there was danger with it, so he was nervous as well. But like, the fact that he appreciated the dinosaurs and loved them for what they were and knew all about them. It was nice having that Alan Grant kind of role back. And even though Owen Grady was in the previous films, he did what he needed his character to do and did it well. He was never a dinosaur geek, whereas he was, and so was Alan Grant. It was great having that character back that just related to us as fans. And then obviously they continue to collect teams such as Duncan, who sort of took on that role known by Zara. He came in, it was his boat, and they sail away. He has a little team on the side with him as well. And they go and collect 3 samples from 3 dinosaurs. And the ones they need are Quetzalcoatlus, Titanosaur, and finally, Mosasaurus. Now with these characters, and as they went into the film, we felt like we grew a bit with them. But with Zara and with Duncan's character, there was obviously a backstory with them. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think the film set them up to the characters that they needed to be. I didn't feel invested. And when I say I didn't feel invested, I'm going to be brutally honest here. I didn't actually care about their backstories. There was nothing in there that made me connect with the writing immediately. It's like what we said about Fantastic Four last week. They set up the whole film perfectly, that within 5 minutes, the first time we see them on screen together as a family, we felt connected to them. And I know it's different because these are well-known characters and these are not. But it got to the point where they were having bonding moments throughout the movie. And I just didn't feel like I cared enough about it. And it was a moment where I was a bit like, I don't actually want to hear you talking about your feelings. I want to see a dinosaur. And that gritted me a little bit. However, Henry Loomis's character, because he was this dinosaur genius, and the way he played his character, that bit cool nerd, but the way he was, I connected with his character straight away, and I thought he aced the role. I think Jonathan Bailey was the star of the film. So obviously then they set sail, and from what I saw in the trailer, I thought it was these characters going into the island. Little did I know there was going to be another family that came along and sort of took part of the limelight. And that is obviously the Delgado family. We see them, first of all, they're on a boat in the middle where they shouldn't be. And this is where you question parent skills. Why is he taking them out into dangerous waters when they shouldn't be there? I don't know, but who am I to question? I'm going to be honest, when I first saw them, I was like, no, we don't need more side characters. We've got characters. We're struggling to connect with some of them as it is. let's not throw another family into the equation and ruin it. Like, I just felt like when I first saw them, I was a bit like, no, it's taking screen time away from dinosaurs. And I know I'm really on this with we want to see dinosaurs, but because of Dominion, where we were so deprived of dinosaurs because of characters here, I don't care about humans when I'm going to see a dinosaur film. I go to watch Jurassic Park, Jurassic World for the dinosaurs. I want to see bits of them, but mainly dinosaurs with Jeopardy. And I just felt like there was more characters than we needed to be. However, they did change it a little bit along the way. I like the bond that they had with the dad sort of bonding with the son that we didn't think was going to happen, and the comedy aspect that Xavier brought them. I like the fact that everyone thought he was going to be a complete bum, but when it really hit the fan, he was straight in to save his girlfriend. And I loved that. And I felt like his character got more and more throughout the movie, less annoying and more charming. And I was happy. I think they could have done the film without them and maybe put a bit more screen time into the dinosaurs. But when I first saw them, I was like, no. But they changed my mind and I wasn't against them being in the movie. Now, moving on to the part where they get to the island. And this has been my problem with recent Jurassic movies, is Jeopardy. And we talked about it at the beginning, Jeopardy, danger, unpredictability. And I felt like this movie needed it. I think it needed this to be, we're not watching it, we want to see the dinosaurs take on the human, we want to see them eating humans. And I know people go, but that's wrong, but I'm like, no, but that's what this Jurassic Park film was. You go to watch movies where you see the dinosaurs danger. You don't want to see the dinosaurs sort of letting them off the hook. And you can't portray this world of you're going to the most dangerous place with the most dangerous dinosaurs and be fine. But they did play it well because they killed off two characters pretty much immediately with Bobby, I think it was, and was it Nina? I think Nina was the other character that went off immediately due to Spinosaurus. And wasn't it great to see the Spinosaurus? And actually, whoa, they looked awesome. Can we just have a shout out to the dinosaurs? Oh, whoever created the designs on all the dinosaurs, Spino, T-Rex, Quetzal, Mosasaurus, Titanosaur. Oh, effects were there. And if this movie, in your opinion, didn't hit the plot line or the story or the danger aspect that we maybe would have wanted or could have had, I don't care, because the dinosaurs looked epic. They looked awesome. Now, if you're sitting there going, ooh, lighting's a little bit different. Well, the reason for that is that I did record a clip about this bit and it went, and I don't know where it's gone. I wanted to give a shout out to Dolores. I thought Dolores was a nice little simple dinosaur character they put in. I thought she was cute. I didn't think she brought anything major to the story, but I thought it was a nice little added, sort of like a nod to what Bumpy was in Camp Cretaceous sort of series. And I thought it was quite nice to have her there with the little daughter Isabella. And I thought just a nice little side character. Thought she was cute, and yeah, but I'm all for the bigger ones, not the tiny weeny ones. But we have it. We had Jeopardy, we had danger, and we had this could happen to any of them. And I know there were moments where I think people say the dinosaurs weren't as dangerous as they could have been, and they didn't have as many. We saw the Spino take out 2 people, and then we saw obviously the Quetzal take out 1 of them later on in the movie. And then of course later down the line we see the D-Rex be the D-Rex and be the predator. And yeah, I think that's the problem. When you put so many characters in, you've got to have a few that are in danger. And I felt like you had 3 characters in, Duncan, Zara and Henry that you knew anything was gonna happen to them. And then the family where you went, nothing's gonna happen to the little girl. Nothing's probably gonna happen to the other daughter. The young lad, he'd been lovable, so I don't think there was anything happened to him. The dad was the only one that I went, maybe something could happen to him. But then you go, but how? They were always gonna remain together. So I went, the jeopardy and danger goes when you know some of the characters are gonna live. And I think that's where Jurassic Park needs to be a bit more out there. You need to see more danger, and you need to see less big characters in the movie, because you want to see more side characters be taken away, because then it means the ones that do remain are good. Do you know what I mean? But then I did love the villainous arc we had with Martin, where he took out, he tried to take out Teresa, and everyone was like, what? No, and he didn't save her because he knew that she was asking for help. And he's like, why are you asking for... And obviously she sussed him out and then tried to kill him. And it was almost that Zara thing going, did you try? And that villainous arc we knew was there. And I loved the fact that we had that with him. But then we always knew that at the end he was going to meet his ends. We knew that was going to happen. And I love the bond that we had with Zara and Henry throughout the film, and the fact they got closer. And before anyone says anything, I'm glad they didn't kiss. Because that is one thing that really grated me from Dominion, is that they put Alan and, oh no, Ellie Sadler together. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the fact they put them together, because they were friends and they were always the wood. I just didn't like it. And I know people go, yes, it was the love story we wanted, but I didn't like them together. They were mates. They were never meant to be couple. So actually I liked they put these two characters that looked like they were going to be that way and then didn't. I liked that. And I love the fact that they got to the end of the movie and they were like, we could just give it to everyone. Everyone that's got the disease and needs a cure, we can give it to everyone. We don't need the money. We're good people. And I love the arc in that as well, which I thought was very nice. And we saw, obviously, with the death of Martin, which everyone went, obviously was going to happen. But I love the fact that, he would have obviously taken all the money for him and they would have got nothing. And it gets throughout the world and everyone is cured, which I think was a nice end to the story. But now we're talking about design of dinosaurs, and there's only one way to start with this. Let's talk about the star of the movie. Well, what was meant to be the star of the movie, the D-Rex. Interesting. Do you know what? When I first saw it, it looked a bit like something out of Alien. And I was like, I'm losing it with the dinosaur world, because I'm going, we want dinosaurs. We want things that look like dinosaurs. That's what made the Indominus and the Indoraptor so good, because they were genetic hybrids, but they looked like dinosaurs. Even the ones in this movie looked at the Mutodon, the raptors, the mutated raptors. They still look like dinosaurs. And hey, what about that Easter egg of the... Oh, it was so cool. Oh, I just felt, in that scene, it felt like we were going back to a retro park. And I love the nod in this movie that they had to many different areas of other movies. Even with the silly Snickers wrapper at the beginning, we still had that, element of, this is a nod towards Nedry. At that point, you were waiting for when the system went over to here. He didn't say the magic word. But then going back to the D-Rex, it looked a bit something out of Alien, which I wasn't for. But when you listen to theories, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts where people have spoke about it, I think the idea of what they did was, this is a creature that was created and is in pain. It's in so much pain. You can see it, the way it walks. There's almost like when it walks, and it's like the pain that it's feeling. And you go, this is a dinosaur that was created as a test, and they didn't finish it because obviously what happened. And now you've got this creature living in absolute pain, and in a world it doesn't understand what it's meant to be or how it's meant to adapt and survive in the world that we live in now. I just wish it had more time. It didn't have enough screen time for me, the D-Rex. It was there, and I love what they did with it, where it suddenly appeared. And then we saw the helicopter, obviously the rescue helicopter coming in, and we go, okay, here it comes to rescue them all. We see the light come down, and all of a sudden we see the D-Rex with his mouth going, and you're like, oh my word, like, this is awesome. Like, that was a moment where I went, yes, yes, yes. And I think it was a very cool, big dinosaur. It was threatening, it was dangerous. And I think this is again what we go back to with the last movie we didn't have. There was no danger. The Giganotosaurus didn't provide any danger. It was a scary looking dino, didn't give you any danger. Whereas this guy provided that. And then obviously we see him grab Martin at the end and eat him whole, and you just go, yes, yes, dinosaur time. And at that moment you were going, how are they going to get away? How are they actually going to get away? And in that moment you go, it's got to be a dinosaur battle. This is what made Jurassic World. You saw the raptors against the T-Rex, the T-Rex against the Indominus, and all these other things. And you go, I just want that. I want that fight and we didn't get it. We had it with the end of the Dominion where we had the T-Rex against the Giganotosaurus and the Therizinosaurus appears and it's a teamwork battle and you go, yes, like, come on. We didn't have it. And it's almost like the D-Rex, we needed the T-Rex coming in or we needed the Spino. The Spino battle had to be, you know, the Spinosaurus was one of the most dangerous dinosaurs I've ever seen, like in Jurassic Park 3, was awesome. And if we'd had that D-Rex at the end, instead of Duncan doing the heroic thing and running off and then surviving, which meant nothing in the end, but like you go, oh, just imagine that point. He's got to that point where he's there, he's saved the day, and all of a sudden you see the Spino come through and the battle. And that's what it missed. That's what it missed. And I think it goes back to the movie as a whole. That moment was... and then it goes. I think that's my opinion on the movie as a whole. I think the point of it was the idea was there and they'd provide something and you'd be like, okay, here we go. And then it would just flatline. Like the T-Rex bit, like with the family, it was great to see the T-Rex and this is the most powerful T-Rex ever, better than Rexy. And you go, but they made it look weak. You know, it was there on top of them and then it decides to swim, whereas it would just go grab. And, you know, it's picking up a boat made of rubber with razor sharp teeth and the boat's fine. And I'm okay with the character surviving, but you've got to make them survive in a better way. And you've got to make the T-Rex look like it's going to be on it and then something happens that distracts it or something happens that affects it. You can't have the T-Rex just sort of ambling his way around it so they don't. It wouldn't do that. And I feel like you can have them get away, but make the T-Rex look better than it actually did. And yeah, I feel that was the thing with the film on the whole. The idea was there, it was great, they executed, and then it would flatline. And I feel that that's my opinion of the movie as a whole, even throughout scenes. It was a bit like, it would get you there and then it'd be gone. It would get you there and it'd be gone. And it wasn't a good roller coaster in my opinion. However, the orchestra, it was great to have, you know, the soundtrack back. The Titanosaur scene was just beautiful. It was just beautiful because that was a moment where you saw Henry Loomis acting exactly how we would act in that moment of going, wow, that nothing needs to be happening. There doesn't need to be a moment of danger. We just want to appreciate dinosaurs and the beauty of them. And this is where this whole world where people would be bored of dinosaurs doesn't make sense, because how can you stand next to something like a Titanosaur and be like, I'm just in awe of it. Like we say about elephants now, when you go near elephants, you're like, giraffes, it's just amazing. Even though you've seen giraffes and elephants many times, you're still in awe of it. And that Titanosaur bit with the music in the back, it was just so beautifully executed. So if the movie had moments of poor execution and quality, there are tiny little glimpses of it that made me go, I feel like I'm watching a film and I'm happy and I'm content with what I'm being provided with. Now, where do they go? I mean, I have heard there's rumours of a couple more films in maybe another trilogy coming in. I just feel like what they need to go down with the route is more jeopardy, more danger, and a bit more investment into the characters they're providing. So if this is the last we're going to see of Zaro or Henry, fair play, but you've got to bring the next characters in to be as good. Or if you're bringing Zara and Henry and Duncan back, give me more of them early on and then allow me to have the dinosaurs to fit in with the characters so I care about them. It was the fact that if anything had happened to any of those characters bar Henry, I wouldn't have cared. And that's something you've got to be. Like if something had happened to Alan, even like Jurassic Park 3 with Billy, you know, when Billy looked like he'd gone, we were gutted because we'd invested in the character, and they did that subtly throughout the movie and we fell in love with him. Whereas they didn't do that in this movie enough for me to care about the characters that much. On the whole, I think it's a steady movie. I think it's better than the recent two Jurassic Worlds. I think it sits comfortably as fourth in the whole franchise as a whole. And I think they did a good job for what they did. They just need to execute it a little bit better and finesse the final details. But if they can do that in the next movie and we see a bit more dinosaur time and a bit more dinosaur fights, then I'd be much happier, because I don't think we saw that with dinosaur on dinosaur, and that's what makes a Jurassic Park World movie, in my opinion. Yeah, I think the rating I'll give it is a 6. I know people will say that's harsh, but I think 6 is fair. It didn't excite me, but it didn't disappoint me, which I think is just above average, which I think is fair. And that is the end of my review. Again, as I've said, I'm not, this in-depth, really detailed guy. I'll just give my humble opinion on the movie and what I think. Again, if you want to check out my Fantastic Four movie reaction, you can do that. Head on over to that video. It's well worth a watch, I'm sure. And we're going to be doing lots more of this channel, movie reactions. We're going to do tier lists. We're going to do character tier lists, movie tier lists on every little thing, including a Jurassic Park World tier list on films. And it's very, very exciting. That's all we've got time for today, but I'll see you soon on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe below. See you later, everyone. Goodbye.